Wicked. Brrr. Ante Strika. How are you, brother?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm terrible, bro.
Yeah, right.
I'm feeling shite. I've never been worse. Nah, man, life is good, man. Life is good. It's been a while since we caught up, though.
Yeah, it's been a while, huh?
Yeah, man. What's news?
Mate, I've just recently moved to Brisbane.
Brisbane getting warm. That must have
Yeah,
been different. You went from the freezing to the most like stable climate in Australia.
Yeah, I must admit, I like Brisk Vegas a lot more than Canberra's weather, but it's been a bit of adjustment, and yeah, I quite like it here. I think I'll be here for a couple of years at least.
At least. What's the population down in Canberra?
I think we're at like 350,000.
Oh yeah, so you tripled. So you just about tripled where you are now. Do you notice though? Because Brisbane's so big, it feels empty a lot of the time when I'm there.
Yeah, not really. Like Canberra's like a small town, but because it's not that big, it seems like, you
Is
know,
it pretty trafficy and stuff in Canberra because it's
uh,
kind of small?
in comparison to Sydney, no, but like for people that are like in Brisbane, yeah, you'd say, it'd be similar.
Do they have a peak hour in Canberra, or
Yeah, they have a peak hour, yeah, just the standard work days,
does
yeah.
it last for 3 hours, 3.5 hours, like it does in Melbourne and Sydney? Or
45 minutes and
oh,
they'll be complaining.
all right, and Brisbane about the same, right? Because it's so big, right?
Yeah, Brisbane's pretty like I drive my girlfriend and I if she goes to work in the morning and she works in between Brisbane and the Gold Coast, it's about like a 30-minute drive, so nothing really.
Cool, man. That's awesome, though, man. That nice move, nice change to new pastures. How are you finding it?
You know what? It's a bit of fate, to be honest. Things were wrapping up in Canberra for me, and then a series of events have led to me moving to Brisbane and potentially starting a new project up here, which I'm pretty excited about.
Tell us more. Can you tell us more? Is it Secret Squirrels business?
No, I can give you a rundown. So I'm going to be opening the world's first rooftop organic gym chain. So imagine a gym.
Say that again. Slow down. Say that again.
So the world's first rooftop garden gym chain.
Okay. So
So imagine.
it's your idea or someone else's idea?
No, it's been my idea for about 4 years, and then I met a guy here who was a big wig. He was the chief operating officer for some major gyms all around the world, and like I said, fate has put us together, and looks like we're going to be doing it very soon. We find out on Friday if we get funding, so fingers crossed.
So you're partnering. You're looking at partnering. You've written up contracts and you've negotiated and done all that stuff and.
Yeah, we're still going through the process of it, but yeah, it's all going to be finalized. If it's not on black and white, it's not on black and white.
Have you got a name yet, or is that?
Yeah, it's still going to be called Primal Move.
Yes, makes sense too. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So tell us the concept. Tell us 4 years ago what happened. How did it come to you? Tell us more about that.
So about 4 years ago, I think I moved. Yeah, I probably moved from Croatia back to Australia, and I started working as a personal trainer. And basically, I came up with the concept of Primal Move. So Primal Move stands for if we return to our primordial nature, which is living in harmony with nature, we will have health and abundance, right? And then I wanted to create a movement in people. And so that's where Primal Move basically stemmed from. And then I realized as I did further courses, studied with the C.H.E.K Institute, I have a background with the C.H.E.K Institute and Paul C.H.E.K, that you've got to have all the pieces. You've got to have nutrition, you've got to have sleep, you've got to have, your relationships sorted, you've got to have your fitness component, and all that basically tied into the vision of Primal Move. So this facility will be like, we grow all the food on the roof that feeds the people inside the gym, right? And the gym's totally functional. It's like, a standard gym, but you're going to have MMA, you're going to have all your functional equipment. It's going to be like a hub, the hub where someone can come. They can go to the roof, they can do meditation, they can do yoga, they can just sit and chill in the garden, or they can come work out or eat at the organic cafe.
More tree, more chi.
That's it, yeah.
So tell us, for those who don't know, tell us a little bit about that C.H.E.K background, because I know you just briskly just went over it, but that's some pretty profound stuff there. Tell us about your journey with that stuff.
So it started when I was 16 years old. I was trying to become an aspiring soccer player, and I ended up working with a woman who was an ex Olympic gymnast, and she trained at the AIS. And long story short, she started coaching me. My parents were paying for personal training, and back then, no one had heard of the
Coaching
C.H.E.K
you in
Institute.
soccer or coaching you in football? Or?
In soccer, yeah, in football.
Yeah.
I had a postural imbalances and a whole bunch of things that we were trying to correct. And long story short, I trained with her for about 6 years, and it was like having an apprenticeship into health and fitness that today seems really normal to people. But back, 15 years ago, no one had heard of like doing handstands. No one had heard of Swiss balls and making functional movements, let alone nutrition and your mental and emotional components affecting everything. And so long story short, went to university, didn't want to do any of that. Then came back, was trying to think about what I wanted to do with my life. And then I started a job in the public service, and it was soul killing.
What did you have to do? So what you were doing full time? You were full time training soccer and playing and practicing 4 or 5 times a week, 3 or 4 times a week, something like that. And then you would have your one-on-one training with this woman, and then you went into that, in an office at a desk. Like, what were you doing?
Yeah, so I basically got awarded a semi-professional contract when I was about 17, but my parents wanted me to finish school. So I went through my whole schooling, and then I came to the age of going to university or whatnot. And basically I decided to go to university because as much as I loved football, my heart wasn't in it, right? And so I ended up going to university, and my first job is as this public servant guy that does data admin and stuff. I was doing like military super. It's like totally not my personality. But anyways, so I would do that during the day, and then at night I'd go to night school to become a personal trainer. And so long story short, I had this background in health and fitness that eventually led me to making the conscious decision to become a personal trainer and then further study with the C.H.E.K Institute and Paul C.H.E.K. And when I look back on my life now, there's a lot of ties and situations that the probability is so low that I can't help but think like Paul is like a major influence in my life. And to give you like an idea, Paul actually met his wife in the ACT in Canberra at the AIS at the very first seminar he put on before there was the C.H.E.K Institute. And my trainer, Lisa, was there. So there's a whole bunch of series of things. And then I met him and practice what he teaches.
Yeah, nice. So you were just sold. Like, what were some of the things that, because you already sold kind of a little bit from your trainer, and then so you're like, oh, this stuff works, and you're seeing benefit, right? And
definitely.
And then like, what were some of the things that stuck with you? Like, oh yeah, this makes sense, and kept you going back. And because I know sometimes you work with someone, you're like, yeah, this is good, but it doesn't feel right. So you end up somewhere else finding something that's really resonating with you. So what were some of those things for you, if there were? And then when you met Paul, like, what was some of the things that made you go, yeah, I need to study under this guy?
So the biggest thing is practice what you preach. So when Lisa would give me an exercise, she'd be like, what does it feel like in your body? So at an early age, I had this sensation of when you have correct alignment, you literally feel like gravity goes directly through you all the way down to the ground, and you feel super rooted, grounded, and like really unstoppable. So all the exercise she gave me, I could see the direct impact because my posture was like this, being a 16-year-old guy, and then eventually I open up and I can see the full effect. Your breathing improves, you're stronger on the soccer field. Guys that might have like 10, 15 kilos on you, they're not as strong as you because you've done all this Swiss ball stability work. You're really agile. So the first-hand experience was just the proof in the pudding. And then when I met Paul, I remember Paul walking in to the conference, and I almost fell off my chair because he just had this presence that like took over a room. And I'm at the front there, and I remember just thinking like, can I swear on this? I was like, holy shit, like this guy has been like the most influential man other than my father in my life. And I remember asking him like this really deep question, and he was just like, are you putting me on? Like, who told you to ask this question? And then I gave him the context of why I asked this question. And, you know,
what was the question? What was the question?
I asked him, he was talking about archetypes, right? And how, you know, people have, if an archetype is a subconscious collective belief in its purest form. So if we go to the Amazon and we go, show me your warrior, or if we go to Japan, show me your warrior, or if we go to the Amazon and go, what's a mother? Japan, what's a mother? We all have these inherent ideas of what they are. And Paul's talking about these ideas, these archetypes, and it's HLC1, which is like his intro course, right?
What's that? What's that acronym for?
Holistic Lifestyle Coaching.
Yep, yep.
And I remember asking him, I sat there at the front and I go, Paul, I have a question for you that I've been thinking about for 2 years. And he goes, okay, what is it? I go, do we actually have free will, or is it just a paradigm, a story that we tell ourselves, right? Do we actually have free will, or is it just a story? You know, I move this pen and so the pen moves. Is that actually how it works? And he looks at me and he goes, did someone put you up to this? And I was like, no, not at all. He goes, you sure you want the answer? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, okay. And then he spends an hour describing it, right? And there's some people who have come to this class that have like, this has gone like way over their heads. They're just like, you know, I just wanted to learn like how I should sleep better and eat. And then here I am going, asking him the most profound, like spiritual question that I could like, you know, think of.
And you were sold. He's like, all right, this guy's got my attention now.
Yeah. I like, you know, I'm very grateful for the man and what he's brought to the world, and certainly to my life.
And any from that hour long, is there some stuff that's still stuck with you to this day? Like, is that helped formulate your idea of what happens in the world and you know, what actuality is? Or
yeah, I think so his answer to me was, yeah, we have free will, right? And I think we have free will in circumstances. So his idea led to me thinking more about it, right? So I believe we all have free will. We can all choose what we do, but at the same time, we've got to balance the free will with yielding. So where life wants us to go, it's a good idea to go with that, because we'll get there faster. We'll get our goals faster. So like my example, right? If I'd never moved to Brisbane, I never would have met Mike, and my dreams probably would have not come true for another 4 years.
Right. Yeah, we've been talking about this a lot recently, actually, me and my friends and a few people on some of the podcasts, just like about life being that balancing act between making it happen and allowing it to happen, you know, and finding that midpoint where you see that everything is the gray, you know, like nothing is either black or white. Everything is both and it's a blend, and it's a definite different shade of it. And realizing, you know, if you get too stuck on the white, oh, it's like this, or no, it's like that, that's where shit fucks up, because it's like things are slowing down to a point where if you look at it like a coin, it's got a black and white side that's spinning. If it's in constant motion, it looks gray. Whereas if it slows down enough where it's black and white, shit gets wobbly, right? It's going to get wobbly and it's going to fall over. So getting stuck in one mindset or the other mindset, that this or that mindset, things get a bit wobbly and your ideas of things fall over, you know? So I think finding that midpoint is super beneficial as well. You know, people like are saying like, you're liberal or you're Democrat or, you know, you're a activist or, you know, or you're more pacifist or whatever, like either or kind of thing. That's when people run into trouble, you know?
Completely agree, man. You know, I always think of Tai Chi or Qigong. You know, when you get in the flow with Qigong and it's like your arms are moving themselves.
Yeah, 100%.
That to me is like the flow zone. There you go.
The flow zone. That's that Wu Wei. That's that state of Wu Wei where it's just effortless, and cultivating that. So I imagine that there would be similar practices with what you do with Primal Move, with the holistic life coaching, with the C.H.E.K stuff. I imagine that there would be similar practices, because for me, knowing the concepts is great. Like everyone's read all the books, especially if anyone listening to this has probably read some personal development books, probably knows a lot of the things. Yeah, I know that. But bringing it into the real world, bringing the theory into practice, that's what I love the most. I love bringing concepts in and go, how can we use this? I want to see it. I want to be able to use it. I want to be able to touch it. I want to be able to make it real, these concepts. So I imagine that you've come across a lot of things that help you bring concepts and principles into actuality. Is that, would I be right in guessing that?
Yeah. So in my observation of life, I believe there's 7 principles that if someone sorts out in their life, they will go up Maslow's hierarchy of needs to being self-actualized. They'll remove the blocks to be living their purest potential possible, right? While they still have an ego. And these principles are your thoughts, your breath, your hydration, your nourishment, your movement, your rest, and your environment or surroundings dictate who you become. And there's a reason why they're in this order, right? You can think yourself sick. You can think yourself healthy. 2, breath. Why is breathing more important than water? Because you can go 3 minutes without air, but you can go 3 days without water. So breathing is more important, right, than hydration. And so many people today are so stressed that their breathing has become totally dysfunctional and they don't know that it's dysfunctional, right? Like, for example, everyone loves green smoothies. Green smoothies are to help alkalize the blood and stuff. But the number one way the body detoxifies itself is through the breath.
It's, what is it, about 70% of the toxins through the lung, through the skin, through the breath?
That's right. Exactly right. Number 3, hydration. How much water should you drink? Some people say 8 glasses, other people not. If you've got a 50-kilo woman and a 100-kilo guy, do they need the same amount of water? No, right? So there's a formula that we use to work out how much people need to drink. And
so talk to me about water, actually. While we're on water, because we could on each of these 7, we could talk for an hour at least.
Yeah,
hours on each of these. But let's just, because the breath, I love about the breath. There's a book by Brule, Dan Brule. Have you read it?
No.
It's called Just Breathe. I highly recommend it if you want to get deeper on the breath. Get the audio book. Brule, Brule with the accent. I think it's Dan. And actually, I think my homeboy might be in Brisbane, Benny Ferguson, or somewhere near there. I'll link you guys together because he was on the podcast recently, and him and you together, and with the Primal Move thing, that would make some magic.
Okay.
But he put me on to Dan Brule, and he talks about the breath. So rather than us talking about the breath, I'll just point people in the direction of Dan's book. But I wanted to touch on water because there's so, like, especially I got a whole bunch of people on the Kangen water, and there's a whole bunch of beliefs around water, like the quality of water. If you're actually absorbing it, should we scull it? Should we sip on it? Should we have it before a workout when we're thirsty only? All of these things. So, like, tell us what your knowledge on the water is and the absorption, and what you would recommend or what you found.
So let's break it into 2: quality and quantity, right? We'll go with quantity first because it's easy. If someone wants to work out how much water they need for their body, you take your body weight in kilos and you times it by 0.033. And that's going to give you a rough guide. So for me, it's about 2.4, 2.6 liters a day. Plus, if you're exercising, you need more. Now, the quality of water, people will go, do you need fluoride free? Does it really matter? In all the research I've ever looked at, definitely want to filter your water for fluoride, right? And there's a whole bunch of research.
What's a good enough filter that will filter the fluoride? Is it has to be reverse osmosis, or like what's the?
So there's basically a company in Australia that makes water filters. They're called Waters Co Australia, and they do a fluoride filter. The thing about reverse osmosis is it extracts all the minerals out of the water that you have to, if you drink it, you've got to then add the minerals back in. So you either got to add a pinch of sea salt, or the minerals are coming from your body. They're coming from your bones. So if people have reverse osmosis filters, they should add a pinch of sea salt so it remineralizes the water.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so fluoride-free water is the best. Like, for example, Canberra gets its water from the snowy mountains, right? The water is really good. They still put fluoride and a whole bunch of, and chlorine and other shit in it for, not to poison people, but if you understand basic chemistry, that if you put chlorine in water, you kill bacteria. So you're less likely to have a sick population. Just like you've got a pool. But the thing is, back in 1940, whenever they started doing it, we didn't have the research on the gut that we do today to go, well, if it's killing all the bacteria in the water, what's it doing to our gut microbes? Killing them. So I've tested the pH of multiple water supplies. Like I have a little dropper thing that tells me the pH, and Canberra's water was really good. It had a pH of 7.24 to 7.34, which is the range of your blood. You want to drink water that's nearly the same as your blood, because if it's not, your body then has to make that water close to your blood. So if
yeah,
the water
talk on that. Talk to us on that, because like we hear the Kangen water, you can drink the 6, you can drink the 8 point, whatever, you know, like have you heard much about the Kangen, and you know anyone with that, and I like, because is that counterproductive to go drinking the 8.5 or whatever pH and then has to bring it back towards that? Like, yeah, what have you found around that?
So it's my belief, yes. So you can have acidic water, right? And you can have 2 alkaline water. Middle way. The middle way you've got, the acidic base, which is 0, and you've got alkaline, that's 14. And your blood is 7.24 to 7.34. It's slightly alkaline. So living in accordance with nature, live in accordance with nature. People drink, that alkaline water because they're like, I've got to detox, I've got to get rid of the acidic stuff. But if you change other factors, then you don't need to do that, right? Which comes down to your nutrition and your breathing.
And in terms of the research on the absorption, do you know much, like what have you found on that?
So I don't know as much about this, but I do know that even if you're drinking water, you've got what's called intracellular and extracellular activity, which means does the water enter the cell or does it not enter the cell, right? Which has to do with the number of things, has to do with the structure of the water, has to do with the makeup of, how many minerals are in it. But there's a few different things, but I'm not a scientist on that one.
Yeah, no doubt. And bottled water, carrying your own bottle, plastic. What's your thoughts on the, plastic bottles and whatnot? And
glass bottle all the way, no plastic.
Recycle.
Yeah, right. And the thing about bottled water is I did a series on YouTube on the pH of different bottled waters in Australia. So I did Pump, I did Mount Franklin, Fiji, Evian, and I tested the pH.
Voss water?
Yeah, I did Voss water. I did all these different tests on the water to see, which water was the closest to your blood, right? And it was interesting because if you ever go to the shopping centers and you go pick up a bottle of Mount Franklin, right, or Pump, you'll see there's no mineral breakdown on it, right? And that water, through my analysis, came up acidic. It was a yellow-looking water.
Wow.
The best bottled water you could buy was Evian. Evian had a nice greeny blue tinge to it, which means it was slightly alkaline. But yeah,
Did you do any tests on the gas water, the bubble stuff, like the Perrier's and the San Pellegrino and all this kind of stuff?
Yeah, so I tested San Pellegrino. Now, when you look at the bottle of San Pellegrino, it says pH 7.6 at the source. So when they pull it out of the ground, it's 7.6, which is close to your blood. But when they carbonate it, it becomes acidic. So it goes from having this nice blue-green color to a more yellow-orange color.
And they sprinkle a bit of 0.05 of fluoride in there, I noticed as well.
Salt-based style.
So is that, like for you, did you test the carbonated stuff as well? And did you find that came up a bit yellowy as well, did you?
Yeah, I just only tested the what's it called? The San Pellegrino water. And then after that, I sort of worked out, well, carbonation leads to this because you're adding more carbon into the water. But yeah, my recommendation to my clients and people is get a filter system, right? That takes out fluoride, chlorine, all these heavy metals as well, and carry a glass bottle with you. Fill it up. Stop using plastic.
That's crazy, the amount of, like, if you go to a festival and things, this is something that I'm like, it just annoys me. I was going to say I'm passionate about it. It just pisses me off more than anything. Like, you go to a festival and they're selling plastic drink bottle or, like, drinks in plastic. I'm like, how is this not outlawed? This is crazy.
100%. In the ACT, we've had a ban on plastic bags for, I think, 4 years. So if you wanted a plastic bag, you have to pay 5 cents. Other parts
you should be charging $5.
Yeah, $5. That's right. Got to give your arm.
5 cents, no one cares about 5 cents. I'll buy 10.
Yeah.
Give me 100. It's going to cost me, charge him $50 for his bag,
Completely agree, man. Completely agree.
And all right, so moving on from water to what was the next one that you mentioned? It was
nourishment. So what you're eating. Now, with what we're eating, the way I was taught and the principles that make the most sense to me is every human being is unique. Just like we've got a unique thumbprint, a unique eye, nutritionally what we need is unique, and it's changing every second of every day. So for example, is there a difference between men and women? Yes. Is there a difference between what you're eating with your age? Definitely. If you're a woman, are you wanting different foods when you're menstruating, not menstruating, when you're pregnant, when you're not pregnant? Do you feel like different foods when you're exercising and not exercising, when you're stressed and not stressed, let alone the genetic components, right? So what I teach is that we should follow what's called the flexitarian approach.
Hey, I'm glad you said flexitarian. This is what I have. Like I've been talking just about this as well, like about labels being constricting. Like if you label yourself anything, you're then constricted to the box of all these behaviors that you believe are inside this box. Anything outside of the box, then you're wrong. Then you're gonna feel shame. You're gonna feel guilt. You're gonna feel all these things that are gonna limit you. You know, rather than being limitless, but labels are actually useful. So I'm like flexitarian. If you can have some room, if the box is big enough that you can move around in, it's actually not that constricting. But so things like flexitarian is good. Another one was like, you know, rather than being optimist or pessimist, you can be like, you know, like somewhere a balancist, or, you know, rather than being a, you know, you could be, how you call, like, what was another one there? It's just like being flexible within it. You know what I mean? Rather than saying you are X or Y, you know, how can we have X and Y and become V or W? Or, you know what I mean? Like something that combines them both.
I have a saying. It's dogma that causes illness. So you can have a healthy vegetarian and a healthy person on keto, right? But if they think that's who they are, they wear that. And the only thing guaranteed in life is that it's going to change. There'll be a point in time where that keto person might not do so well on keto, and they might need to go to a more balanced or vegetarian lifestyle, and vice versa. And our ability to go with the flow and manage according to where nature wants us to go, where God wants us to go, the universe, what infinite intelligence, whatever you want to call it, and dance with that, that is where you're going to have health.
So that's it. This is the model that you use. So sometimes you got the flexitarian. Where did you hear that term, by the way? And where did you, since when you've been practicing?
This comes from Paul. This comes from what's called metabolic typing. And metabolic typing is that if you look around the world, and we broke the world into sections, right? If we take my background, right? Croatia. In winter, what grows in the snow? Nothing. So genetically, I have a predisposition to eating heavy proteins, potatoes, and fermented foods. Now let's compare me with someone from India, right? India is near the equator. The equator has more sunlight, which means there's more plants. So someone with Indian heritage might do better with then a more plant-based diet like the yogis have. They wouldn't do well on heavy proteins. And then we've got a mix of people, you know, because, for example, my parents came from Croatia. I'm now living in Australia. There's a mix, and the environment impacts this as well. So that was the basis. It's called a metabolic typing.
And do you find that, for me, when I can tell, I guess, with practice of mindfulness practice and just being aware and embodiment practice and just having these practices where regularly I'm just checking, how do I feel? Well, how does this feel when I'm around this person and I'm putting this food in my body, this drink in my body? What does that feel like? I find that not everyone has that ability to just check in and go, like, or not, like everyone has it, but the level that it's honed is different in different people. So do you find that you have some clients that you see and they just like, I don't know, like I don't even notice that this food makes me feel crappy, or this food makes me feel energized, and then I crash, or, you know, I find that like that perceptive, like having that sensory perception of being able to know what particular nutrition or substance or anything you're putting inside, on, or around you has an effect on you. Do you find that some people just don't know, they're numb to whatever's going on? And like, is if so, do you have specific ways to hone that?
Definitely. So nearly every client I've ever seen that's been, I'll use an example. A client came to see me. She had been on antidepressants for 10 years, was suicidal, you know, hating life, marriage breaking up, all this stuff. She was totally desensitized to what was going on in her body. I had to feel what's going on in her body, right? However, when she started applying these 7 principles, what happened? She felt safe. She got the right nutrition. She felt then more secure in who she was. She was able to deal with the stuff that was under the rug. And then she tuned back into what was really going on for her. She was disconnected because of the emotional pain that she had created in her life. And when she removed that pain by feeling safe and secure in what she's eating, how she's feeling, who she is as a person, then she, I guess you'd say, the flower grows. It goes to the sun.
So do you have like some, I know that flexitarian, that's like a principle you can guide your life by, like, okay, what, you can look at the DNA, you can look at your genetics, you can look at how food makes you feel, like actually maybe journal some stuff, this food makes me, like actually take the time to look at how it makes you feel. Are there any kind of principles that you have around food? I know that I've heard things like, you know, keep away from the white evils, you know, like the flour, sugar, and salt, and these kind of things. And there's kind of principles depending on your goals. If you want to put on weight, if you want to lose weight, if you want to maintain, are there some principles around that that you're familiar with?
So the biggest one I recommend to everyone is to eat organic, certified organic, or biodynamic. And the reason is they're not sprayed with pesticides. And pesticides are endocrine disruptors, right? Endocrine are your glands, and these lead to your organs and your hormones. So we're getting these micro doses of poisons on our food. And when they test them, they're like, the apple has this much microdose of the pesticide poison on it. But they're not thinking the accumulative effect of what people eat. So it's the banana, it's the carrot, it's the apple, it's the salad, let alone it's the animals that are being injected with hormones and all this stuff. So the first principle is eat in accordance with nature. Today, that's called certified organic and biodynamic farming.
I know it was what our parents didn't have this thing. This was just, everything was this, right? Like the fact, I don't know when it became okay to spray our stuff with so much crap. Like, or when it became like food had to look all shiny and smooth, like that for me freaks me out. When I go in somewhere and the food's all like I want to pick the fruit that, like, if it's not good enough for the worm, get it away from me. You know, I want this shit with worms. Worms want to eat it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So that would be the first principle: eat in accordance with nature, biodynamic or certified organic. And the second principle is, like you said, feeling. So there's 3 signals the body gives you when something is either working for you or not working for you from a nutritional background. It's like when you drive your car and your oil lamp might come on. So when you eat something, you want to pay attention to your satiety, which is your fullness over time, your energy and your mood. So food, if it's right for your body type, should keep you full for 2 to 4 hours, give you a level of 8 out of 10 energy. So you should feel energized after food. Typically people eat food and like, I need to go have a sleep, which means it's not working for them. And you should feel good. They're my 3.
And other simple things, because some of those, there might be factors in that which will sway the levels of those things. So it might be 8 out of 10 energy. For instance, if I eat slow down my eating, for instance, if I eat really fast, then I'll need to sleep. Are there little things like some actual techniques that can sway those in a way that will be beneficial?
Yeah, there definitely would be. So, and there's things that can affect it. So as you know, the body's a system of systems. If you have a really stressful day and you've tried to keep this score and you're like, how did you feel? You're like, I felt shit. I felt 2 out of 10. That not necessarily to do with the food. It's to do with what was going on in the circumstances.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just had an argument with my wife or whatever, and then I ate, and of course you're going to feel shit. You're pumped with cortisol and all the different stress hormones, right?
Exactly right. Yeah, cortisol's, you know, the body's major stress hormone, and it gets pumped every day. As soon as we wake up, you know, driving to work, sitting at work, dealing with people. That's why Qigong, meditation, yoga, so beneficial.
Yeah, no doubt. And so the nutrition, that's one, the nourishment. What's next?
Move. So the movement component.
Mm.
And this comes from Paul, that we have, what did he say? We have 7 basic movements every human should do. We should be able to squat. And the reason why we should be able to squat is our ancestors used to poo in a squat, right? We should be able to bend, which would be like deadlift. We need to pick things up off the ground. Lunge, because think about when you're playing sport, you lunge out to get the soccer ball or to run, right? You should be able to push things. You should be able to pull things. So when we were hunting, we would throw a spear, we'd drag the animal back to camp. And the last one is twist. So in our throwing a spear action, it's actually a lunge, a twist, and a push all in one combination. So we should be able to squat, we should be able to bend, we should be able to lunge, push, pull, twist, and gait. So gait is walking, running, sprinting. And then I added an 8th one to Paul's 7, which was we should be able to brachiate, which is hang like monkeys.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't hang today at all, even though our shoulder girdle is very similar to
An ape. So
great apes. Yeah.
Where does jumping and climbing come in that?
I'd say that would be play and pulling. So yeah, if you're climbing something, you're pulling.
And jumping around as well. Let's see.
Yeah, definitely.
Because that's actually one of the for me, I'm like, I know I'm old, because I see old as not chronological. I see it as a mindset. You know, the feeling, oh, I'm old. Like, you know, you can have a 16-year-old who's old, just lays on the couch and got a sore back, and you know, like, oh, I don't want to play. I can't. You know, so for me, that's how I actually gauge. I'm like, I know I'm old when I can't jump around anymore. You know, if I can't jump and just be playful, you know, then I'll be like, oh, I'm old.
100%. There's a. Have you heard of a guy called Ido Portal?
Sure have.
Yeah, he's got a quote about playing. It's like we don't stop playing because we get old. We got old because we stopped playing.
Yeah, 100%. I can relate to that. So that's in terms of that. Like, so it doesn't matter. Like, go to the gym. It doesn't matter. Like, go, you know, find a tree. Like, what's some ways that people can incorporate? Because that's something I hear a lot of the time. I haven't got time. I've got my life so full that I haven't got time to train. I haven't got time. Just shut the fuck up. It's like, go for a walk. There's trees around. There's something around. There's a beach. There's swim. Like, you can literally, if you even lived in a room, if you're locked up in a room, like, I don't even want to get started with that. People in jail have got in a cell. Even if you're locked in a lock-up cell, you can move your body and get your workout on, you know?
That's exactly right. And I think whatever is attractive to the person is the key. So I really like lifting weights, and I like doing movement exercises, like movement-related exercises, like the Ido Portal work, or even dancing. It's whatever, you know, plays to your heartstrings, because you're more likely to keep doing it, which is the key.
Yeah, for me, that's big too. It's like, there's so many things. Man, you could dance, you could surf, you could walk, you could run, you like nature, get out, garden, whatever it is for you, something. And I feel that that's something that keeps you young as well, keeps you healthy. And what's your experience with, you know, this concept of like, it's harder to start the longer you wait?
Explain the concept. So is it the more you wait, the harder it is to get going, that type of thing?
The more resistance you feel. Like, people are like, oh, put it off. Becomes harder and harder and harder, bigger task to actually get started, versus like just taking a little. Like, what would you recommend? Would you recommend starting with 1 minute a day and working up from there? Like, or would you recommend just committing to like 20 minutes a day? Or like, yeah, what's been your experience of that?
So if someone wants to do it themselves, small chunks and slow progressions are by far the best way long-term wise. And the science shows that. That's been my personal experience. It's been the experience of my clients. I think that's been your experience as well. 100%. The fastest way that I know is having a coach or someone to be accountable to. That, to me, I've seen in my life is worth its weight in gold. Having someone who's got my balls in a vice and they're going, you said you were going to do this, even when you didn't feel like it. You know, all things achieved in life were achieved when we didn't feel like it, you know?
100%. It's like, yeah, that's is actually the thing that is is the most common, I guess, when I look at people who have got to any level of proficiency in anything, it's the ability to do the thing. Well, it's self-discipline, or if it comes down to it, it's like, and self-discipline being the ability to turn up even when you don't want to do it, to do the thing even when you don't want to do it, to do it when you want to do it, yeah, but especially when you don't want to do it. And for me, that's one of the keys to proficiency at anything.
I completely agree, mate. All success comes from doing things when you don't want to do them. And even like there's been times in the gym that I've gone to the gym, wanted to train, and I've had to do the reverse where have to go, I'm actually, my nervous system is tired. I need to leave the gym. I need to go do some Qigong. I need to go do something more relaxing, like, lie under a tree, chill out. It's discipline both ways, doing it when you don't want to do it, and sometimes walking away when you do want to do it.
No doubt. And so that was 4 or 5, was it? That was 5, 4?
Five.
That was 5. Let's keep it flowing.
So number 6 is rest. And if I was to pick 2 for today's society, that let's say tomorrow I became the health minister and they go, Ante, what would you enact straight away? 2 things. Number 1, everyone's nutrition, organic, certified organic, biodynamic, according to your body. The second one is rest. Our society misses sleep and rest completely. If you look at big cats, dogs, we all have downtime. And that downtime is just doing nothing. It might be reading a book. It might be lying under a tree. It might be just talking to your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever it is. The downtime is so important. And that downtime also incorporates sleep. So sleep's this real funny one because all the research shows you can't cheat sleep. You can't biohack sleep. No matter who you are, you can be Dave Asprey. You can't biohack and cheat your sleep. Sleep is like this bank balance that you need to pay. You need to deposit every night to. And so how much sleep do people need? Well, there was a study done between people that slept 8 hours and people that slept 6 hours. And they took their blood on day 1 of the experiment, and then 2 weeks later, they took their blood. And remember, the only difference was 2 hours of sleep over 2 weeks, right? So 2 hours every night over 2 weeks. The interesting thing was the group that slept 6 hours a night, their blood profile was the equivalent of being legally over the limit for drinking, for alcohol. The 8-hour group were fine. Now, this is the real kicker. When the scientists and the researchers asked the participants who slept 6 hours, how do you feel? They're like, I'm a little bit tired, but I think I'm okay, which is exactly what people do when they're drunk. They're like, I'm okay to drive. So a lack of sleep actually impairs our decision-making. Now, saying that, people that meditate or do Qigong or do Tai Chi, they're able to get into a similar brainwave state as sleep. So, someone might sleep 4 hours and they might make up the other 4 hours with like 1 or 2 hours worth of meditation. Now, as a general rule, we need 8 hours of sleep. Some people are going to have variations on that. Some people might do well on 6. Some people might be a freak of nature and do 4. But more often than not, 8 hours is the general rule in accordance with your circadian rhythm. And your circadian rhythm is your sleep rhythm. And your circadian rhythm releases melatonin, serotonin, which helps you sleep. It also releases cortisol in the morning, which is your stress hormone that wakes you up. So in the morning, cortisol gets released, wakes you up. It decreases as the day goes on. And then in the evenings around 6 o'clock, melatonin gets released, serotonin as well, and then it plateaus off.
What do you suggest for people who struggle to sleep, like insomnia, or they have nightmares, find it hard to get to sleep? That's the first question. Second question: what about people who are finding themselves sleeping 12 hours and find it really difficult to get into those waking states more?
So I'll go with the second question first, right? People that are sleeping 12 hours, depends on their age. If they're a teenager, they need more sleep. But if you're like a 35-year-old guy and you're sleeping 12 hours, we've got to look at the context. You might not have a big enough vision for your life, and that's why you're sleeping so much. You might have had a really hard gym session and you need to recover. But more often than not, for my observation and experience, people that are sleeping 12 hours, there's usually something going on in the body and something going on in the mind. They're usually not a carrot big enough, and there's something going on with their chemistry, with their neurotransmitters. Now, to answer your second question, what was your second question again?
First question was for those insomnia, like struggle to sleep, find it hard to get to sleep when they're lying down to bed.
So with insomnia, we've got to look at what's the root cause. So if I was coaching someone, I'd say journal down what sleep means to you. We've got to look underneath the iceberg, what's going on underneath the surface. Now that insomnia could be, I might just be stressed. I might have a baseline level of stress. So let's say they just go. Then they come home, they get on their phone, they get on their laptop, which promotes heaps of blue light, which doesn't cause you to sleep really well, actually fucks up your sleep and that circadian rhythm I just spoke about. The first things I would do is change the environment in which they're sleeping. The room must be completely black, no laptop, no phone, no TV, at least 1 hour before sleeping time that they want. And then
why is that important? Why is that important? Because so many people you see, they'll wake up, phone next to them, go to sleep, last thing the phone's next to them, like, or the screen, they're looking at a screen, then they're going to work looking at a screen. Why is it important to have that hour where there's no screen time?
Because you're giving your body enough time to slow down. Life's so hectic, think about our own lives. Go. I want to do this and this, that. It takes a little while to slow the system down. If you're doing 100 kilometers in a car and you want to go to 0, it takes a bit of time to slow that car down.
It's actually dangerous if you stop real quick, isn't it?
Exactly, because someone else might hit you.
And you'll fly through the windscreen.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So we want to slow the body down, It's that undulation of the wave of how nature works.
And how long can you expect to see results with that? Because is it like, I tried it for a week and it didn't help, so I forgot about it, or is it a couple of days you'll see notice, or it takes a month to kick in? Like, how long would you allow for that?
It's going to vary for every person, but let's, being general, would say a month. It takes a month, right? And that's more to do with the neurotransmitters. But someone also needs to be really disciplined. It's like when you got a little kid, you're like, this is bedtime, because you want to create the habit. So it's not like I'm going to bed at 10 o'clock tonight, I'm going to bed at 2 o'clock the next night, then 3 o'clock, then 10. You want to build the habit and the consistency. That's the key point.
And bringing technology into it, or just aids, like sleep aids, like there's sleep trackers and things. This is one thing that people have been saying to me. I use the sleep app on my phone, so I have to have my phone near me for that. Things like this. It's like, what ways around that? Using technology, or like using earplugs or sound cancelling, or having sound on, like from the computer, that is relaxing. Is this the recommendations from you, or still just like nothing, have natural sound? What if there's noise, car noise around, stuff like this?
So ideally, you don't want to have any technology in your sleeping environment whatsoever. And that means power points off, TVs off at the power socket. You certainly don't want your phone near your head, because this is releasing EMFs, and they're definitely been shown to cause brain cancer. So if you're going to use any app, right, near your head, let's say you want to listen to a meditation before you go to sleep, you need to put it on airplane mode. So someone, with my clients, they would say, but what if someone calls me? And I ask them, how many times has someone called you in the middle of the night? And they go, never. I go, well, there's your answer. Put your phone on airplane mode, put it in the furthest part of the room so it's not near you. And then if anything happens, there's axe murderer, Freddy Krueger walks in the room, you can quickly grab your phone and call 911 or 000, But yeah, so technology can be useful, but we've got to be mindful that there is, like anything, you can drink too much water and drown. We've got to use things intelligently, and more and more research is coming out just recently, within the last couple of years, on the detriments of EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies, to the human body. Yeah, so
do you study people, get studied up, and just the last two now as we flow in.
Okay, so I got one more. The last one is your surrounding and your environment. So we've all heard the analogy, you're a product of the 5 friends you surround yourself with, or you're a product of your environment. Epigenetics has shown us that the genes respond to the environment, right? The 2 big ones are get your feet on nature, go barefoot, right? This grounds us. It decreases the electrical charge in the body. And the other one is surround yourself with positive, happy people. You know, if you hang out with dogs, expect fleas. So being around positive, happy people who usually have what you want is really good for you achieving your goals. Hang around with people that are higher than you. If you play tennis with Serena Williams, just by you being on the court, you've got to step it up. But if you play with someone who's shit, you don't have to bring any more of yourself. So the environment and the surroundings are the internal environment, right? As well as the external environment.
Talk to us a little bit about that internal environment. How can we cultivate a healthy internal environment, or an environment that is conducive to growth and positivity and moving in the right direction?
For me, the first one is having some type of what Paul calls Dr. Quiet, having some type of practice where you have alone time with yourself. That might be meditation, it might be drawing, it might be doing Qigong, Tai Chi, it might be yoga.
Is it something like to engage? What about watching TV or journaling or reading a book? Or
no, it's to not engage. It's
okay.
The opposite. So the cup has to be empty to add more stuff in. You know, if you want to be a more happy, positive person, we've got to take stuff out to allow the happiness and positivity to come in. The other thing is, it's the other principles. If you get your breathing sorted, it changes the biochemistry, changes the pH of the blood. If you get your nutrition sorted, it changes the internals of the body as well. So all these principles, these 7 principles are holistic. They're interconnecting everywhere. We can't break one off and it not be a part of the whole picture.
Yeah, the sum is a, I guess it's greater than its parts, but it is made up of its parts,
Exactly. The body is a system of systems. If I cut off someone's arm, they can still live. But if I take out your liver, can you still live? No.
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. So, the body is this interconnected system.
No doubt. So that's bloody awesome value shared, bro. So appreciate that. We're going to have to wrap up, but definitely look forward to volume 2 and continuing the conversation. Thanks for taking the time to.
Much love, Zulu. Thank you for having me.
Just to finish off, talk to us about the flow for you. Like, what are some of your favorite ways to get into flow? And what does it mean to you, the flow zone, being in flow?
Music. To me, there's nothing better than getting the headphones in, going for a walk, and then listening to the beat, the bass of whatever song, and just really puts me in the flow. The other one would be being in nature. I find that when I'm just outside in nature, and it doesn't matter what I'm doing, whether I'm working out, walking, sitting, reading, that somehow life is more serendipitous, it's easier, I'm more in this flow state. And the final one would be doing Qigong. I find that really connects me to...
That's the right answer. Is there any last little thing you'd like to leave, a question that you would like to ask the audience? Anything that you'd like to just last thoughts just before we wrap up?
So if there was a principle that I was to leave the world, if I was to die tomorrow, would be this triangle, right? And if you imagine at this side of the triangle, there's a plus. On the other side, there's a minus, and up the top, there's a 0. The 0 has the potential to be nothing, which is a 0, and it has the potential to be everything, right? And when we live in harmony with this positive and negative force, then we have the potential to be everything and nothing simultaneously. So where can you live in balance? That's my final question for everyone.
Beautiful. Where can you live in balance? Thoroughly appreciate you, man. Love what you're getting up to. Best of luck and best of wishes. We all know it's not that much luck, but it is a bit of luck involved in there. That's the balance. So with the Primal Move, and let us know how we can help. If there's any thing you need from my end, let us know. And the people, we'll leave some links for the people down below. They can get in touch with you, and they can book you in for sessions or come train at the gym. Or I imagine you'll be looking for people to I guess grow the franchise and spread it.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyone that has, a VC background or wants to invest some money, come talk to me. I'll take your money. We'll make good use of it. But yeah, if anyone's in Brisbane, look out in the next year. It's going to be the first Primal Move rooftop garden gym. So yeah.
Exciting stuff, brother. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Really appreciate you. Appreciate your time. And let's do it again, huh?
Thanks, Zulu. See you later, brother.
All right. Until next time, people, keep it flowing.